Good morning to everybody. Am I audible at the back? Thank you. First of all, I am not a doctor. I have not yet gotten my PhD. So thank you for giving me the kindness of giving it to me already in advance. The other thing is, I am not very far from where you are sitting right now. So please listen to me and ask questions just as you would in a classroom or amongst your friends. Okay, so this is based on my learning, my reflection. Your experience is equally as valid, and therefore you can participate in this discussion with us, all of us, I would say. On all of our behalves, I am extending that invitation to you. I will be remiss in my conversation if I don't thank Swamiji and the entire Sri Vishnu Mohan Foundation family for welcoming me and making me feel at home and giving me the support required to be making this presentation in front of you. So I'll start with a small prayer. Please join me if you know this one. Thank you. This is a prayer to the Guru. Now, all of us have gurus who we consider supreme, but this prayer is towards the element of Guru in the universe which guides all of us, whether we choose to believe in that force or not. Okay? If we could settle down a little bit, it's a prayer, so, yeah, okay. अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. So this is invoking the Guru, the presence of Guru in all that we are doing and all that we will do in the future as well. Hopefully you feel this way supported whenever you're participating in something that's important for you. Another prayer that we follow and we chant in a dargah in the community in my NGO is As-salam, okay? As-salam Pir-e Kamil, Sheikh-e Tariqat, Shah-e Khubaan, Deed-o-Ain, Hum Ghulamon ke Shaha, Hum Muridon ke Deen-o-Iman, As-salam wa as-salam. Okay. Another way of praising the Guru and making sure that you have the blessings of the Guru is to remember the qualities of what the simple remembrance of the Guru's feet can do. One is this Ananta samsara samudratara नौकाहिताभ्यां गुरुभक्तिकाभ्यां वैराग्य साम्राज्यदपूजनाभ्यां नमो नमः श्री गुरुपादुकाभ्यां. Here it is said that we are crossing the oceans and the struggles of having to make decisions between good and bad, right and wrong. But having that anchor, having that boatsman with you who will ensure that your boat doesn't sink is very important for us to have when we are starting something. So with this, why am I beginning with this is very important, because I have learned from all the gurus of my life and they have all shown me certain similarities, uniqueness and oneness. This is the background or the history or the original software OS that I was born with, and then I went ahead to university and college and learned more theories and different philosophical treatises, theories and ideas and perspectives, and I try to assimilate this into what we are discussing today, which is whenever we are in an open community with different people, different ideas, how do we bring everybody together? If you have been listening to our deliberations for the past 2 days, you will understand that everybody is trying to talk about oneness, unity, somewhere selfless service, transcending the ego, and forgiveness and compassion. Okay, these are some of the great values that all of us have inherited as OS. So let's go ahead and look at what is the kind of work that is happening And how do we connect these philosophical ideals or spiritual messages into daily life, daily work, your professional life, and your idea of goals and success? So we are doing three things. I'm discussing three things. One is the importance of justice, healing, and education, and how we are looking at it in three projects that I'm working with people with right now. One is Project Empathy, where we are looking at mental health and family. Second thing is we are looking at capacity building for teachers at schools in Bangalore, Samsid schools in Bangalore. And one more is the open community that I'm working with in Ramnagar. I will tell you more about each, and you can ask me questions if you want. Okay? So in our conference this time, we are talking about how much peace and justice are interrelated and what contributes to each one of them. So in social work theories, we have something called person and environment approach. That you can't see a person in a vacuum. You have to ask the relevant questions about who are they, where are they coming from, what is their experience been like, what are their early experiences like, who are their friends, what kind of support systems do they have. So it is the context of the person and the person both who are important. Then we look at certain things called critical consciousness. This is by a scholar called Paulo Freire, and in his deliberations called Pedagogy of the Oppressed, he's talked about how much education plays a role in empowering a community to ask for and fight for and struggle for their own rights and get them. Nobody can give you your rights unless and until you are aware of what your rights are and you realize them and actually live to struggle to get them and apply them in your life. Then there is systems theory, which again says every organism in the living system is a unit which is interconnected with each other, whether it's a parental unit or a siblings unit or a school unit or a family unit or a larger community. And if you bring one change there in one unit of the system, there will be some kind of a corresponding change in other units also. And the second important part of that theory is that in systems, the cause and effect is cyclical. So it's never linear, like A leads to B. It's always A leads to B, leads to C, leads to etc., leads back to A. Okay? So whenever we apply this in conflict, we say that we cannot point fingers saying you caused this or you caused that. It's always a combination of factors that leads to a conflict or its resolution also. Now, this was the theories that we use or perspectives that we use in social work. Apart from this, I spoke to you about oneness, that is exemplified in Advaita. There is dharma, there's loka sangraha, like Swamiji spoke about. In African cultures, if you see, there's something called Ubuntu. Ubuntu means that we are all connected. In Indian movements, the history of India, if you see, we have movements, social movements, environmental movements, which have really exemplified how to advocate and speak about the rights of the people who have been oppressed or marginalized. Whether it is the Chipko movement or the Dalit Bahujan Adivasi movements or the queer movements of the country, or if you look at age-old Bhakti Sufi traditions, you can talk about how they have overcome the boundaries and labels and boxes that people have put on an individual to talk about divine union, love, equality for all, justice for all, and try to relate to each and every person in the community and bring them together. Then there is something called balance. Now balance, especially if you look at the Southeast Asian cultural influences, something like Taoism. Taoism talks about order and chaos and how each of those are very much interdependent and one cannot exist without the other. A little bit like the Horcrux and the Harry Potter situation. Okay. Then we have general guiding principles like seva, dharma, satyagraha, and self-transcendence, which is again echoed in some of the Western theories also. But at the same time, we in India have kind of mastered and been talking about it and learning about it since ages. Now, what is the barrier then? If we think about, all of you still with me? All of you still with me following? Any questions, please ask, okay? So, any point where we don't engage or when we feel sar ke upar se ja raha hai, it's going above my head, I can't. That is where there is a possibility for curiosity. Like, why is this relevant? No, at any point of time, in any situation, whether it's a tough situation or a boring situation or a conflict-ridden situation, or you're sad or you're upset, angry at somebody, is an opportunity for you to ask a deeper question. That is the only reason why all of these theories I'm telling you, that they tell you to be curious, ask questions, participate. Okay? All right. So let me tell you about what we are doing in the northeast part of the country. There is an organization called Assam Rifles. Okay, in Assam Rifles, there are Jawans from across the country posted there, and their families also visit them and stay with them for some months of the year. Now, as you know, you all must be reading the news, the northeast part of the country is severely affected with internal conflicts, external threats, and a lot of power struggles. So, these Jawans who are working over there already in a stressful environment, and their families, many a times the mothers or the wives have to basically take care of the children all by themselves, raise them all by themselves. So if the children fall sick or if there's any need, they're pretty much single parent, even though the husbands are still at work, but they can't be relied because they are at duty for the country. So we were working with them in a group counseling mode, much like this, 30 people. But I was like, after meeting them once, like I'm meeting with you once, and I met with you yesterday also once. The future sessions are online, digitally. We plan them, structure sessions with games and activities, and keep one topic and actually engage with them, get them to open up, talk about their needs, talk about their problems. Very interactive session. Until now, we've finished like 21 sessions. We've covered these topics. Okay, where some of the issues I shared with you, parenting, bereavement, anxiety, grief, identity, those kind of things. And we talk about the same theories that I told you about, get their thoughts, see what they need to say, speak, and what they think about it. Oftentimes, they don't have somebody to talk to, so this intervention really helps them find a support system and find some equality amongst themselves, some unity amongst themselves, instead of being in small groups that, okay, I'm from Delhi, you're from Bihar, you're from Kerala, you're from Tamil Nadu. Instead of being in smaller groups, they can see their common issues and come together. Okay. Then there's also a skill building component. Skill building is, of course, all of you know what are the skills. Can some of you tell me some of the skills that you can see or not see over here? Some skills, soft skills. Can somebody list some skills quickly? The answers are here on the board, just to get some participation from you. Can you see? You can't see? Do you want to come up ahead and see? You can come up ahead and see the PPT if you want to, and I'll share it with you later. So some of the important ones are, I mentioned them yesterday. I can see some familiar faces from yesterday. That's why I'm saying again. Emotional regulation, communication, okay, leadership, listening with empathy, exploring one's own emotions, reflections, and learning about the mind and the body and the connection between the both, okay. Now this is about the teacher training program. So over there are schools who are trying to incorporate neuroscience, educational neuroscience, neurocognition, things like that into their curriculum. So what is neuroscience? It talks about how the brain wiring, structure, mapping, functioning, and the way our brain is. If we get to learn about that as teachers and as students, learning can be facilitated better using games and activities and tools and aids. Okay, so we are talking about that. We're talking about healthy parental and teacher relationship, talking and building better relationship with your teachers. What are the conflicts between teachers and students? Things like that. Okay. So this is an interesting experience. Then we're talking now, this is about open community. And in the open community, this is a toy making and silk weaving community. There is a lot of multiple religions and multiple cultural influences present in the community. We do a lot of langar kitchens, community kitchens. We do a lot of school interactions. We do a lot of livelihood building activities. But my dream for this particular project is that we get something as high tech, as accessible, as interesting, like this conference, to a place like that also. So there is a lot of course, work and space to be covered, but there's also a lot for us to learn from the situation over there and the people's strength and resilience and cultural, you would say cultural resilience, I would say, culture of resilience and collective action that we can learn from them. We can learn how they survive, you know, because surviving in a difficult situation when you have a traditional handicraft with you, but you're stuck in a modern world where a lot of things don't run without money, degrees, you know, access to better and powerful people. That doesn't happen over there. So there's a lot to mutually learn, and it's also a learning of mixing cultures, syncretism, what we call, learning from each other, appreciating each other, forgiving each other for past threats. So these kind of things we are openly discussing in the community at SWARI, and this basically gives us enough material to apply this model in other places also. So community action, community development is something definitely direct intervention for peace. All right, so let's go back to Project Empathy for a little while. We also went on an exploration of oral histories of the Naga people, and we learned more about their rituals, their head hunting days, the kind of way they have their family homesteads, and also a little bit about the different arts and crafts that are there, and stories. So oral histories are more about stories that are passed on from generation to generation. So these were some of the stories that young college students such as yourself went to the villages, went back to the elderly, the 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds, 100-year-olds. Some were village chiefs, some were famous hunters of their time. And they sat down with them and asked them to tell them stories. So they told them stories about their tribe, how their tribe originated, where they traveled from, why they do practice certain rituals, what is the story behind the ritual. So this was lost because unlike what we know about Northeast India has several states, several tribes, several stories, several dialects. And some of these stories are going to vanish because the stories have not been written down. So this particular project was about asking the elders the stories and writing them down and making a small film and take some pictures around it, and actually ask the people from those tribes about how they want their story to be told. And all of that is captured in a wonderful website called nagaoralhistories.in. Okay. This is being done by college students such as yourself. That's the only reason I mentioned it in front of you. So what am I proposing for you right now? Why I've basically cut down on a lot of theoretical conversations, and I'm just proposing this for you because a large part of us in this room are students, and we might go back, but you will be actually using this information. These 3 projects and my role in them were born directly as a result of 3 years of conferences that I've attended here. Okay, what I heard and what I learned from here is what I took back, and I started this work because of what I learned from here. So one is that this is not just conference and conversation. If you take it seriously, you can actually make it work. One is that. Second thing is, history and violence is there in every culture, every community, and as part of each one of our individual histories, there is violence. But it is up to us to make space for peace. Now that's an individual choice. Peace is a choice. So can we develop spaces, attitudes, approaches for harboring peace and justice in ourselves as we heard yesterday, that macro level peace can be started at a micro level, individual level, community level. So it's a proposal to you. Can we sing a story of peace? Okay, second thing is, there is a lot of group tensions and armed conflict which is very apparent and explosively being expressed, especially on social media, in smaller groups, away from the eye of the public, or sometimes even between individuals, because it is extreme, because it is interpersonal, because it's personal. So armed conflict then becomes other people taking advantage of your interpersonal issues and putting arms or putting harmful things in your hand to weaponize you, to weaponize your emotions. So being aware is very important, that is my interpersonal conflict or my community based or identity based conflict being weaponized by somebody else who stands to gain from it? Is my disturbance of peace being benefited by others? Because that is a large part of what is happening in many parts of the country right now, with people your age and my age, and it's a conversation which is getting skipped a lot. And nobody is talking about this on social media as often as we should like to, actually. All right. So another is recording evidence of peace. Okay. So we hold an advantage, an opportunity, and somewhere the responsibility of recording the instances, the stories, the experience, and the anecdotes of peace and harmony. Not every stereotype needs to be challenged or debated, argued about, and broken down in an aggressive way. There are several practices, both religious, spiritual, and social, which are about celebrations and people coming together. So that was what I was mentioning, like jatras and julus and festivals and languages and dressing, and the way we share food, the way we share language, is all a way in which we are recording these small time capsules of peace and harmony. So that is a collective responsibility again, which I would like to share with you. That's all from my end. I don't want to take any more time. These are some rights which I'm sure you will be able to go back and read up about. And these rights are based on peace, based on justice, to ensure peace for everybody. These are interpreted very differently by different schools of thought, but in essence these are human rights, and if it is gone, then it's very difficult for peace to happen. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.